Hey friends, Chris Maholka here. Recently I took everything out of my fly vest and gave it its long-deserved yearly bath. And when I was putting stuff back together, I was thinking about the questions I see online about what should I carry in my fly vest, and should I carry a vest or a tackle bag or whatever. Well, fly fishermen have always been kind of mysterious to non-fishermen, and you see people out on the river and non-fly fishers will think, wow, I wonder what they have in that vest that's, secret or mysterious or magical that helps them catch fish. There's really not anything in the vest that will do that. The sad thing is when a beginner starts out and has a vest with all these pockets in it, and they go to a fly shop and think they have to spend money to put something in every pocket of their vest. And that's just not the case. So I decided to put together this video and tell you basically what things I carry in a fly vest, why I carry them, and why I think it might be a good idea for you to do things along the same lines. First off, what is a fly vest? Well, other than a garment with a lot of pockets for easy access, it's basically your suitcase on the river. It has all the stuff in it that you're going to need. And again, how do you determine that? Well, that's why I'm here. Try to help you figure this out. Now, in your fly vest, the basic thing that it does is provide you with convenience when you're on the water. You wear it, everything's with you, you go out and you wade in the river. You don't have to go back to shore to change flies or to put a new leader on or whatever you need to do. It's all on your back. It works great when you're on the water, but what it does for me is it's basically a getaway pack that I know is ready whenever I want to go fishing. I just have to grab it. Now, there's a lot of times, you get out of the office or out of the studio late and you have an hour maybe to fish or something. I know if I go grab my 3 or 4 or 5 weight rod, whatever I want to choose, grab my pack or my fly vest, I know that everything is in there that I will need or want while I'm on the river. Determining what you need and want while you're on the river or lake or pond or whatever is partly where you live. I'm in Western Oregon, but I know that if for any reason I had to grab my vest and a rod, that I could fish lakes in Washington, streams in California, throughout eastern Western Oregon, over to Yellowstone, really, and I have everything in my vest that I would probably need for any of those outings, or at least get me very close. Now, you of course have to remember that you're not always going to have everything you could possibly need. You may run into a hatch of some bug that you don't have in your fly box, but at least you have capacity with fly boxes in your vest to remember next time to take it along with you. So, how do we start with the fly vest? Well, basically we start from the top down, from the rod tip down. Let's go from there. When you have your fly tying gear, it's nice to have some place to keep it. If you have rods that you keep in rod cases with the reels on them, in a rack or something, you can always grab a rod and reel that are together. That's a great way to go. If you have travel rods, short rods, that don't have cases to hold reels, I like to take whatever reel I'm going to use and keep that in my vest. Now this is a 5-weight. That's a 5-weight rod. That's kind of my basic go-to for rivers and stuff. So keep your rod and reels together, or if you have a rod and a special set that you like to use, keep it together. There's my reel in my backpack or in my vest. Now, if you're fishing dry flies, you'll be using monofilament leaders. I keep leaders in a bag numbered as to what they are. I use this because I've got leader wallets, but they add weight and bulk, which I really don't like when I'm wading. It tires up my shoulders and stuff. So I always carry leaders. Dry flies, swinging wet flies and stuff, monofilament. If I'm fishing wet flies deeper or nymphs or things, I have fluorocarbon. Now I tie leaders. I'll put a link to this on eBay to where my leaders are for sale, but I carry both monofilament and fluorocarbon, 3X, 4X, 5X, and 6X, and both of them, because that covers everything from panfish and smallmouth somewhere to fishing on the rivers for whatever I might encounter there, even up to summer steelhead or something. Those again will go in the back of my back of my vest. Now, this isn't for your lunch necessarily, or for God's sakes putting fish in, because it'll get really slimy and stinky really quick if you do that. So for storage, leaders. Now when you're fishing and you break off the tip of your leader and you want to add more on, I carry a couple spools of mono, 4X, 5X, and the same with fluorocarbon. Doesn't matter whose brand you use, just make sure you carry extra spools with you. These fit really nicely into the little front pockets on the vest. Get it around here. There they are, little top pockets. Leader spools go right in there for when you need to add on leader. Just like that. So far so good. Now again, you're fishing a dry fly, you may need fly floatant. Fly floatant, always good to have. Keeps your dry flies dry. And if you fish CDC or flies that tend to have a lot of fluff on them for like emerger patterns things, I like a piece of buckskin, and these are a Rene Harrop product. They're a dry fly wicker. You put your fly in there and squeeze it, and it sucks the moisture out so you can recoat it to be ready to fish your dry fly again. Those go in the left front of my vest pocket with my floating stuff. Since you change flies and leaders, always need to have a pair of snippers. Now it doesn't matter, these are toenail snippers. Bought a vest reel, expandable vest reel, so I don't lose these in the river all the time. Just cheap clippers. These are cutting off tags when you tie in a new fly, or cutting leaders, or whatever you need to cut. That is always good to have. If you have it in a vest reel, it can clip right on the front of your vest, right there, so it's always handy. Now if you're fishing nymphs or sinking flies and you want to put a little weight to them, little split shot. Now split shot, it's getting more and more regulations about using lead, so if you carry some of the tin type or non-lead split shot in a little size, those are always nice to have. That's my sinking stuff. So for my organization purpose, that's going on the right side of my fly vest. Now when you put those split shot on and off, and say you're lucky enough to catch a fish, you need something to take the hook out. I don't use hemostats because my fingers are big, I get cold. Putting them in rings of hemostats are painful. I like just simple, smooth jawed pliers. These are bent jawed, so I can reach down and take the hook out of a fish without hooking him. Also, you need this for a very important reason, and that's pinching down the barb on your fly. Some people use hemostats, and that's good, but hemostats, by the time you really reef down enough to get a fly barb bent, it doesn't go on your hemostats. And also, these are good if you need to grab a hold of a fly and pull it out of somewhere that it's stuck that it shouldn't be. Once it's barbless, it comes out really easy. So I like to carry a pair of pliers. Those go, for me, in the tall, skinny pocket on the vest. Right there. Won't fall out. Know where they are. When you're fishing, if you record things, I always like to have a thermometer. These are really inexpensive fiber thermometers that they light up different levels of color depending on what the water temperature is. Thermometers become very helpful in catching fish year after year. I'll explain this in a moment when I talk about a notepad. These will again go in the tall skinny pocket in front, right like that, always there. The one thing I did forget is if you're fishing nymphs and you fish a strike indicator. Strike indicators I carry in a variety of sizes. These are just corkies, steelhead corkies. Small sizes up to almost a ½ inch, depending on the water and the weight of your nymph and stuff. It's always nice to have strike indicators on hand. These again go in my floating side, next to my dry fly floating and stuff. So far so good. Now we're going to talk about fly boxes. And this is something that you can get really carried away with stuff, or you can keep it fairly simple. I'm probably more carried away just because I tie a lot of flies, so I do carry a fair amount of fly boxes. And let me show you the different types of boxes and really what their uses are. Fly boxes come in a bunch of different shapes and configurations. Small ones, larger ones with ripple foam in them. And I tend to like these for most of my flies because I know that when I open the box, a lot of stuff's not going to fall out. Everything's going to be kind of protected from each other and easy to see and easy to select the fly I want, also to put it back. This one happens to have a little hook sharpener in the center that you can run the point of the hook down to keep it nice and sharp. these type of boxes, little compartment boxes, are great for things like small nymphs and things, because they're going to stay in there. You can't really hurt them. You're not going to crush them or anything, by putting a bunch in one area. And the reason it works great for nymphs, and I wouldn't suggest it for dries, is because when you're out on the stream and the wind's blowing, I've had these and had people with dry flies in them open them up and had flies blow out into the river. Never a good thing. So I like these little compartment boxes for my nymphs and heavier flies. Now, as far as fancy boxes go, little aluminum ones like this with compartments in them, you can clip a few in here, but it doesn't have nearly the capacity that you can see for something like this. It does fit in a shirt pocket quite nicely, as well as these do too, but this one has another inherent problem that I don't like. All these little doors are spring-loaded to open like that. I have carried these before and had them fall out and hit on something, and when you open the top, all the springs pop up and flies go everywhere. So I'm not a real big fan of the spring-loaded boxes. That one doesn't even want to stay shut. There it is now. So not my best choice. And then there are other things like things that a friend made for me, fly foam in them. They're really nice, but I can't see sticking a fly in this foam and taking it on the river because it is so pretty. And then another one that comes in handy if you're going to carry a small pack and want to have one box are the dual-sided. This particular one I carry nymphs and different things, some little parachutes and things in the compartment side. And then on the dry side, the foam side, it's got some different dry fly patterns, some ants, some cicadas, some different patterns, some mosquitoes, and I might carry this if I was going to a small pond or something to fish and only wanted to carry one box. So now let's talk about the actual flies I carry. So first, let me remind you, I do tie a lot. Tie a lot for experimenting, a lot of different patterns, tie for people, tie extras, that kind of thing. So I don't expect everybody to carry a huge selection, but I'm going to show you what I carry and why I carry them the way I do. First and foremost, the small boxes. This box, I'm a big wet fly fisher. I like swinging wet flies. So one small box has all of my wet flies in it. Some of my favorites, my black and red, my purple soft tackles, even a few damsel nymphs, things that would swing in a current or be submerged and fish subsurface. The other small box I carry has my chironomids and my scuds in it. Now, almost right here you can see a selection that will catch fish almost anywhere. If I go to a lake, I've got my chironomids, my midges and stuff, some little shrimps and things. Could even swing these below an indicator in a river. And if the chironomids don't do it in a river, the soft flies probably will. So a lot of flies, but in two small boxes it covers a wide variety of areas that I might want to fish. Now, on top of those wet flies, I carry a big box, and these are my buggers and streamers. Don't fish a lot of streamers in the West. Have a few bait fish patterns, a lot of buggers, different variety, different color buggers, some with beads, some without, some with tungsten beads to get them down if I need to. So that's going to cover my big fish fishing or my more streamer and attractor type patterns. I do carry a small box. This is kind of my assorted nymphs and things that would work anywhere. Pheasant tails, prince nymphs, blue wing olives, some caddis. It's kind of a catch-all nymph box, and that goes in the side pocket. Then the two big boxes. This box is pretty much my upright mayfly types of flies. My humpies. You've got Adams and blue wing olives all the way up to some little midges, different midge patterns and things in here. So I know that on one side I have my upright wings, basically, my mayflies patterns. In my other box I have my caddis and my stones. That's a lot of flies again, but it covers the full gamut. I've got everything from little blue wing olive CDCs all the way up to my big green Mackenzie caddis and my stone flies, a few stimulators and things. So I know that if I'm at a river, let's start with the river. If I'm at a river and I see an insect hatching and I look at it and it's some kind of a mayfly, I know that I've got mayflies. If they're taking them hanging, just emerging or slow emerging or right on the bottom, I've got my wet flies for swinging, and I've got my dry flies for when they hit the surface. So I've got everything covered in the variety of colors that I might encounter in those boxes. If I'm fishing a pond, I can set a couple of those aside, stay with my nymphs, my wet flies, add in my chironomids, or my buggers. So that is 6 boxes, three big boxes, 3 small boxes, and it covers the whole gamut of areas that I fish. I'm not going to talk as much about patterns because patterns are selective to where you are. There are things that you can carry that are good everywhere. If I had to go somewhere and fish, not knowing what I was going to encounter, be it a stream or a pond, I would probably carry the box of soft tackles, and I would bet that I could probably catch fish with those, just because a few basic colors of oranges, greens, reds, purples, browns and things, that there's going to be something that the fish eat in the streams I would most likely fish that would fall into this category. Now, if I could go and fish everywhere with one box, why do I carry all the others? Well, that's the refinement part of it. If you get to a spot and you're seeing, say, little black stones come off the water, which in the West is really popular in the spring, I could fish a little black soft tackle and swing it around, but I also know that in my box right here, I have specifically little black stones. So when you're starting out fishing, you start out simple. You start out with some Adams dry, a couple pheasant tail nymphs, and maybe a couple soft tackles. So where does the rest of this all come in? This is the experience part. This is part of what fly fishing is. You learn as you go. You go to a stream, you fish your flies, you might catch something, you might not. But if you see a bug coming off the water, if you go out there the next time and fish that same spot and you don't have that bug with you, then you missed the learning curve. One of the other things I carry with me everywhere in my vest is just a simple piece of note paper and a Sharpie, a fine point Sharpie. Now remember when I said I had those thermometers in my vest? That's because if you go out fishing, say you're on a pond and you start seeing trout slopping on the surface and you see bugs coming off, you can take a temperature reading of the water and on your simple piece of paper write something like at 1:30, 52 degree temperature on May 8th, you saw a blue-winged olive coming off. So you take that home, and that will remind you that that's what you saw when you saw it and what the water temperature was. One of the other things you'll learn to do as a fly fisher is keep a log of your fishing trips. Write down everything when you get home, because if you don't, you'll forget. So if I go out there on May 8th at 1:30 and the water's 52 degrees and I see blue-winged olives hatching. Now, can I expect to go back the next year and catch fish on blue-winged olives at 1:30 in the afternoon on May 8th? You may. It may very well happen. Although if you go out there and you measure the water temperature is 56 and you don't see any blue-winged olives, you may have missed the hatch. It may have happened earlier in the year, or if it's 48 degrees, it may not be happening for another week or two. This kind of thing gives you the guidance that you need to become a better fly fisherman and catch fish on a regular basis. I tend to keep a logbook of every trip I make every year, so I can look back and think, wow, when I was fishing with that friend of mine and we were somewhere and we caught all those big fish, I can't remember if that was in March or June and what we were using. Well, I can go back to my log and I can look, because that will remind me, because trust me, as you get more and more trips under your belt, catch more and more fish, you won't remember everything. It just doesn't happen like that. So let's finish loading up our vest here. So I'm going to take my vest and I'm going to put in my pocket up here, I'm going to put my chironomids and my soft tackles. Slide right into that pocket. know where they are. Those are always those two things that are in there. My one side, I can put my mayflies and my caddisflies, slide them in the vest. No matter where I go, I know that my dry flies are on my dry fly side. Remember, I put my split shot stuff over here on this side, my wet side, so I can take my nymphs and my streamers, and I can put them in that pocket and that in that pocket and zip them up. And I know now that when I go out, what I have in my vest to catch fish. I have my reel, my line, my leaders, my extra tippet, my chronomids, my soft tackles, my mayflies and caddisflies, my nymphs, small nymphs, and my woolly buggers. Now there aren't many places that won't catch fish. So are a couple more things that I would suggest. One of them actually is almost mandatory for your eye protection and for helping you see fish and see your line are Polaroid sunglasses. Don't skimp on the Polaroid sunglasses. Now I'm not talking about going out and buying some trendy, kind of mirror finished whatever. These you usually get from an optometrist if you wear glasses. These are amber, which in my waters here in Oregon tend to be the ones that show the fish the best. Green ones don't work here because it just makes everything look green. The amber ones really help you pick out the shadows and the fish in shallow water. Those are always with me. Those go in the back of the vest. And the one other thing that you'll learn to carry is a flashlight. These little guys anymore can be really powerful, last for a long time on battery, and you'll find that if you're fishing somewhere and it starts getting dark and the fishing's still good and you want to keep fishing and all of a sudden it's time to get out of the river and you can't find the trail back to the car, this comes in real handy. So we're just going to slide that in our other skinny pocket on the front. There's our complete fly vest. Not bulky, not heavy, weighs about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds maybe, because it's got the reel in it, and we're ready to go fishing. Thanks for watching. Come back and visit next time and hopefully catch some fish. Bye.